Are you looking to do deals and master flipping houses? Welcome to the Do Deals Show with our host, Mr. Tim Mai. As a successful investor and mentor to many real estate investors, Tim's students consistently run 6- and 7-figure investing businesses. Each week, you'll hear from top real estate investors who share the best strategies, systems, and secrets that you can use to be more successful. Tim and his guests will pull back the curtain for you to learn their exact tactics, tricks, and tools that are working best right now in today's real estate market. Now, let's welcome Mr. Tim Mai.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to this interview. I'm your host, Tim Mai. Today I have John Martinez on the line with us. This is going to be a super special interview because John doesn't have a real estate investing background. He is a real estate investor now, but how he got started as an investor was actually a sales trainer. He's a sales trainer for some of the top real estate investors here in America and probably beyond now, right, John? And then through that, through working with other investors, John started real estate investing for himself. So we're gonna talk a lot about the tips, tricks, and science behind selling and negotiation today. So, John, thank you so much for doing this interview with me today, buddy.
Yeah, Tim, happy to be here, man.
Awesome. Yeah, so how if you can share with us a little bit about yourself, your background. How did you get into the whole business of selling and sales training?
Yeah. So like most of us, we all end up where we are by accident. So I got into sales at a very young age because I had a young growing family and I needed to make some money. So I got into sales, all commission, and I stunk at it. I was absolutely horrible. But over the years, I had some good mentors and I've studied about every sales philosophy out there. And over the course of about 10 years, I started building sales teams, owning my own businesses, consulting with others on how to build sales organizations. And over time, my career has morphed into being a sales trainer, developing my own methodology and things like that based on what I learned over the years.
Gotcha. Now, when I think about a strong salesperson or a good salesperson, I think about someone slick, someone's wearing a suit. You don't look like that. You don't look like that.
No. Well, that's one of the biggest lessons about sales is the trick to being one of the best things you could do to be effective at sales is do the exact opposite of that slick salesperson. Because if you even think about it, Tim, when you identify a salesperson, whether a telemarketer calls you and you pick up the phone, or you walk onto a car lot and the salesperson's walking up to you, what do you automatically do? You're automatically putting up your defenses and thinking, all right, I'm not going to tell them what's going on. I'm going to hold my cards close to my chest, and we start putting up all these walls. So the way we talk, handle ourselves, and appear really has to be the opposite of the traditional salesperson to really be effective.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, in training all the investors that you've trained and even doing your own deals, is there any difference between the kind of selling that we do here with the homeowners versus, your normal? Because I mean, with the homeowners, we're trying to get them to sell us their house, right?
Yeah.
Versus like selling a product or a service. And so, is there any difference? Can you speak into that?
Yeah. So the funny thing is there's no difference. So the process we use for sales is we're in about 50 industries, and it's the same whether it's for a timeshare resort and it's maybe a telemarketing call that lasts 3 minutes or a $15 product. We've got organizations in aerospace engineering where the sales cycles are complex, 2 years long. You can talk about $500 million to potentially $1 billion price tag. And everything in between, from attorneys and so on, exact same sales process, because it's not about selling the real estate, right? It's about helping someone make a decision whether or not it makes sense to change what they're doing, right? Or who they're buying from. So that's all it is. It's a conversation and it's a simple decision. Should I change what I'm doing today? So it applies in all industries.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So let's get into the science of selling. I know that there's a lot of sales training out there that goes based on personality.
Yeah.
Do you do that kind of stuff?
So when you talk about communication, you can become more effective at talking to certain people by looking at personalities, but we dial it back even further to the science, into the science of it, into our biology and the neuroscience of it. So where we start with our sales training is exactly how we make decisions. So we look at things like we look at fMRI studies, and when people are making decisions, what neurons fire in the brain the quickest? Why? Does it start in the logical brain or the emotional brain, the prefrontal cortex, the amygdala? We get deep and we get really nerdy with the science of how is a decision actually made. And after we understand that, we know exactly what types of questions to ask and how to ask them to really get your prospect thinking a certain way. Now, all of that stuff doesn't matter what type of personality you have. It's just the way we're hardwired to make decisions. So you can become more effective and build rapport quicker by recognizing what type of personality you're talking to. But what our stuff dials back into is the psychology, the neuroscience, the behavioral economics, all those core pieces of how everyone worldwide makes decisions.
Gotcha. So you come from a more universal approach.
Absolutely.
Okay, versus the personality approach. So let's talk into that. Yeah, because I've never really went based on the personality. I mean, I've never officially had any sales training in my life, right? Just out there hustling it as an entrepreneur. Yeah. I picked up sales along the way, but yeah, so I don't have any specific methodology or technique that I use. So what are some of those questions? If you can get into some of the specifics of like, how do you get someone to open up and speak into that?
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it. So a couple quick, I guess, tips and tricks would be this. The basic questioning strategy we all need to use is problem. And this is how I put it out in my training: problem, impact, and picture perfect. Because, and I'll back up a little bit. Here's what happens when we're selling someone, or what really we're not selling them. We're walking them through a decision and just really making the decision crystal clear for them so they can make a decision. What we're looking for is there a problem I can help with? Is there an issue I can get off their back? Or is there an opportunity or something better that this person wants? And do they want it bad enough to make a change, to sell me their property, for example, right? Or maybe sell me their property at a deep, deep discount. So the first thing you have to do is identify, what are you there to do, right? What are you there to help? And that starts with number one, asking a vague question about why you're there. I usually open it up with something like, hey, you saw our postcard, you picked up the phone and decided to call me. Why in the world did you do that, right? And we get into what we call the problem. Okay, what initially prompted action? After that, we go into impact. This is where we start to get some traction in the sales call. So, I got a lot of, let's say, repairs I got to do. Oh, okay, yeah, we all got stuff to fix. Is that a big deal or a little deal? Well, it's a big deal. Well, why? Well, because I'm working more, all the money goes to the house. Because I'm working more, I'm not spending time with my wife and kids. Because of that, my relationships are suffering. Because of that, I'm going through depression. So we get into impact. And when we really look at the science of decision making, what we have found beyond any doubt, and we could get into the science of it if you want to, is all decisions are made emotionally and then justified logically. Now, in almost every science out there, we can show you lots of studies and pretty graphs and whatnot that depict that. But so just take my word for it now. So what we want people to do is to get them really motivated and create this huge sense of urgency to take action. And we do it by finding out problem, impact. And then when we really want to drive it home, we ask what are called picture perfect questions. And these questions go over really, well, what's a perfect scenario look like? You said you're not spending time with your family. You've been depressed because of it. You don't feel like you're pulling your weight. What's it look like if you didn't have all that on your plate? And then they start to describe what that would look like and what that feels like. And when you get your prospect to a point where they understand where they are today and what that feels like and where they want to be, and they start painting this vivid picture of what that feels like, then you're here and you want to go here. And the sale becomes really easy. Money and everything disappears. And it just becomes a question of, hey, listen, that's where you are and you're saying that's where you feel. You want to be here. I can get you there. The only question is it worth doing a deal today? And everything else disappears, right? I just spent $5,000 on a roof repair and my neighbor's house sold for this. That's great, but that's not what this is about. You're here and you feel like this and you want to be over here. I can do it, but is it worth doing a deal with me today for 35K? We simplify those decisions. So that's kind of a sneak peek into what we do. As you do that, you're going to run into people who are reluctant to give information, maybe even a little hostile. We can even get into how to deal with those people, anything you want to talk about, Tim, but that's the basis of a good questioning strategy.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds good. I like it. Problem, impact, picture perfect.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So in terms of, negotiating, other than this, like, do you have, like your clients, do you have them explain, okay, here's all the repairs going to be, like, you beat them up on repairs, you beat them up on all the costs that goes into if they were to sell it, like sort of those kind of rationalization type of thing?
So yeah, I mean, we get into it a little bit, not as much as many people. I mean, just a couple quick rules there. I mean, so what it really comes down to is they have a certain expectation of the value of a home, right? And we need to reframe that expectation as something that's a little bit more realistic. So we can use all those tools, looking at repairs, looking at comps, and we do different things. The key to that is this: we can't tell them the numbers; they have to figure them out themselves. See, as salespeople, what we say to them, we're liars, right? We just want a deal. But whatever our prospects say is the gospel. So if you're going to present comps, what you do is you don't read them to them, you don't give them the information, you hand them the comps, you go, this house at 123 Smith Street, is that by here? Is that around here? Yeah, I know the house. Oh, okay, cool. Is that like what's the square footage? About 1,000, same as your house? Yeah, give or take. Does it look like it's in the same condition? It's in a little better condition. How much did that one sell for? Was it 40, 50, 33, huh? You make them go through all that themselves, because as they're telling you about this house, it sinks in and they believe it. Or if it's about the repairs, same thing. So what do you think that would take to fix? Really? Only that much? Oh, a little more, huh? You use their numbers. We can never use our own numbers and our own facts. We just use questions to get them to give us numbers and facts. Those are a lot more stable. So whatever you use to kind of, as you said, beat up the numbers or on repairs and things like that, you just got to make sure those come from your prospect. So instead of giving them the information, ask them questions to get the information out of them back to you.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Just so far already, I'm already getting a sense of like your methodology, if you would say it that way, is like in how you ask the questions, right? And so you're all about asking the right question to get them to open up, getting them to see it for themselves,
Yeah, so when we're in houses, we record our sales calls. And when you hear a good sales call, the salesperson doesn't share much at all. They just, I look at it this way. So pretend you and your prospect are on a boat and you're starting out at one location and your destination is the sale, the close of the deal. Well, your prospect they're doing all the talking. That's kind of like the engine. They're moving the boat forward. And the salesperson is like the rudder. And with their questions, they just keep that conversation on track so you get there. So when you hear a good conversation, it's not about what the salesperson shares or says to the prospect. It's the questions they ask. The measure of an awesome salesperson is the questions they ask. When you hear these sales calls, you hear a salesperson who's been through my training ask a very short question. Prospect talks for a little bit, a question, they talk a little more, and it gets to the point where it's like a 90-10 split, and the salesperson's just guiding through their questions, almost sharing no information at all, and getting their prospect to the destination, basically.
Wow, okay, well, I do too much talking then. 90-10, okay.
Yeah, it would blow your mind if you hear some of the stuff we record, yeah.
Wow, okay. So how is this different? Like, do any of your clients strictly do sales over the phone only and then they send the contract over, or are they all like in-person sales?
Yeah, so it's a mix of everything. Some do it completely over the phone, and they've got virtual markets all over the country. Others, the majority are some type of mix where it starts out over the phone and then there's an acquisition agent who actually does a site visit. The only variable there is where the cutoff between the phone work and the site visit starts. Some people do very little stuff on the phone, just get the appointment and go. Some people almost complete the sale over the phone and then send out the acquisition agent on site. But the vast majority, it's a combination of the phone to intake the lead and then closing the deal face to face.
Gotcha. Okay. And have you found in terms of much differences in how the salesperson needs to talk to these homeowners over the phone versus in person?
No, it's almost zero difference. It's the same thing, right? It's the same conversation. It's just a different medium. Even we close deals via text message and email all the time too nowadays. It's the same type of communication. The medium really doesn't matter.
Okay. And what about things like they talk, like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming and mirroring, and do you like get into those kind of things, or what are your thoughts?
I've studied them. I don't get too deep into it. We actually keep it really simple. So our stuff is based on a lot of complex science and stuff like that, but the actual process is simple. We've kind of dummied it down so someone like me can use it, right? So when we talk about rapport building, it's as simple, we go back to the science and the biology first. Okay, we know when people talk more, rapport is built, because the more someone talks, the more a chemical is released in the pleasure and reward center of the brain called dopamine. Now, that's actually the same chemical that's released with when you eat chocolate, with sexual activity, or if someone was to do a drug like cocaine. So we know to get that chemical going, the more of it is released, the more someone talks. Now, we know the more they talk about themselves, even more is released. And the more that someone talks about themselves to someone else, even more is released. So the basics of building rapport is getting someone talking about themselves to you. So we can use very simple things like softening statements. You ask a question and then you just say something like, really? Then you just be quiet and someone will talk. So we keep it very simple. Now, along the way, if you want to be more effective, you can mirror tonality, tempo. You can mirror them physically. When you mirror someone, you just want to make sure that you only mirror the good stuff, not the bad stuff, to keep the rapport growing. We keep it simple, and you can always spice it up a little bit and get better and better. But our stuff, it's based on complex science, but everything we teach is super simple, so anyone can do it without getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, it does sound very simple, and it's really great, because I see myself as a pretty good salesperson, and however, I already on this call, like I get to see my approach about it is different, and then and I get to see also too, like how I can improve on it, because a lot of times I look at sales as a dance, right?
Yeah.
And so in a dance, like we're talking more or less about the same amount of time, maybe 60-40, but I can see how asking the right question and let them keep on talking, it almost like this will be funny, but it's like talking to my wife, right? She's probably not interested in that 50-50 or 60-40 talk. She's probably more interested.
She wants to share. Absolutely.
She wants to share, right? So it's like, So that works at home, and certainly would work here with the sellers as well, with the clients as well. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So when you say that you ask them the questions, get them to open up, so that way they see where what they want to go, and at that point, once they clear on where they're at and where they want to go, price isn't as much of an issue, but you still have to introduce price in it at some point somehow.
So there's usually a step I put in between that and the price. So first thing we do is that questioning strategy, because we're building up motivation and urgency, and it gets really emotional sometimes. People break down, tears are coming out, or people are really excited about some type of opportunity they have, maybe a new place, a new start in life, a new job. So that's what we do first. Decision starts with that emotion. So we want to get them really revved up, ready to take action. But, there's things that all of us want to do, and we might want to do them really bad, but there's things that get in the way, like time, like relationships. There's all kinds of things that stop us from doing things we want. So the next part in our sales process is we go into what we call deal killers. So I know you want this, you want to get from here to here, but let's pause for a second and talk about everything that might get in the way from that ever actually happening. And the reason we deal with the deal killers here is this: if we were to throw price right here, wait for those objections, and then try to overcome them, our chances are very unlikely that that's going to happen. I'll tell you why. See, our price, our offer when buying a house is our leverage. As soon as the prospect has that, they don't need to open up and share with us anymore. So until that point, they're really willing to answer our questions and talk to us, because at the end of the day, they're going to get that offer for the property, and that's what they want. This is why oftentimes we give an offer and then our prospects will disappear. They won't answer our calls. They've fallen off the face of the earth. And we're thinking, I know there's something hidden underneath, some type of objection that I could probably overcome. And it's probably not even as big of a deal as they think, but I can't get them to return a call or open up an email. It's because you've lost your leverage. So instead of giving an offer and then trying to uncover all those hidden objections and concerns, I go for the deal killers first while they're still very willing to talk to me. And I work through all those possible deal killers on the front end while I still have some leverage. And then we go into price. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's almost like you try to answer all of the objections beforehand.
I bring them up. Absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, so that way, by the time you get to the price, like those objections have already been answered. And so, okay. And then, like with us having to get the houses, especially, when we're doing wholesaling, have to get the prices like, much, much lower. What are some of the ways how do you overcome that where they're not shocked by that, lower offer?
Yeah, so great question. And, I actually had a guy I've been doing a lot of traveling this last few weeks, showing people how to do this. And believe it or not, I had this conversation in the car last night after giving a $5,000 offer on, I think about a $75,000 home. There is a way to make an offer where not only will no one ever be mad at you, they'll actually ask for the offer. And then after you give it, they'll tell you why your offer makes sense, and they'll actually console you and say, it's okay, I know that's your offer and that's what you got to do. So here's what you do. If you want, I'll go through a real quick and dirty way of how to make an offer. So number one, you always you want to reset what's called a price anchor. So all this means is this: whatever offer we finally give, that's going to be compared, that's going to be judged good or bad, depending on what the seller thinks their house is worth. So if a seller thinks their house is worth $100,000 and you offer 10, that's a horrible offer. If a seller thinks their house is worth 1 and you offer 10, that's an awesome offer, right? So the offer, what it's compared against, makes it good or bad. So the trick is, at first, you want to reset their expectation. That could be as simple as saying something like, this probably will surprise you, but I've seen houses in this area go for 5 or 10 grand or 30 or 40,000. Now that doesn't have to be your offer. That doesn't mean that's your offer for that house, but you just reset a price expectation from way high to, wow, that low. So anything that comes after it, your real offer is going to be compared to that low dollar instead of the high. So that's one of the first tips you can use, is reset what's called a price anchor. Okay, so that takes some of the sting out of it. Next, we rely on the emotion of empathy. And I'll kind of run down. I do this every single day. Here's how it goes. I want to give you an offer, but I think we're so far off on numbers. I'm scared to even give you the number. I didn't come here to offend you, but I know what you want for this place. I am so far below that I honestly don't even want to give it to you. I'm afraid you're going to walk me out. And I get very uncomfortable and very reluctant. And I do that until they say, no, it's okay, give me the offer. Now I have permission to give the offer. No one gets upset at you after they give you permission to do something. And they see how tore up you are about presenting it. Most people do the opposite and are very confident. And when they do it, their prospects push back and get upset and angry. Mine never do. They go, no, it's okay. Your offers based on your business and what you do. And they start giving me all the excuses why my offer makes sense before I even made it, right? So they've given me permission. They're telling me it's okay. And then I give it to them and I say, I don't think I could pay more than $10,000 for this house. And I hate being the bearer of bad news, and I feel absolutely horrible. And I know that is far less than you'd ever be willing to take. And I use that approach. And they start telling me, no, you've got a business too, and you've got to make money, and what you pay is what you pay. And they're giving all the stuff we want to tell them. My prospects are now telling me. And they even sometimes say, it's okay. And they're consoling me. And and they console me. So every time I make an offer, that's how I go into it, to not get that shock. In fact, you build a lot of rapport there, right? And I tell them, no, it's not okay. You have certain expectations and there's somewhere you want to get. And unfortunately, it's not, I can't do it. There's no way to make that money work. And that's the beginning of the negotiation for me. So that again resets price anchor again, but we still have a tight friendship. The rapport is there. We're not all of a sudden now adversaries, right? Going against each other. So that's how we go into it. And I have never made an offer where people didn't actually tell me it's okay and gave me all the reasons why it makes sense.
Right. That's awesome. And that strategy is perfect, especially my wife is a realtor, right? And she's been working with me on doing some investing, which is kind of still a new thing for her. And she's always afraid to make these offers because our offers are so much less. It's not it's not like her dealing with a seller, get a listing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And she feels bad. So the trick is, don't shy away from it. So most people go, I feel bad about giving this offer, but I've got to be a strong salesperson and fight through it and be super confident. No, if you feel bad about it, feel bad about it. I know this isn't what you wanted to hear. And I feel like dirt having to even say this, but it's X amount of dollars. So have your wife embrace it.
Yeah.
There's no need to fake it. It's about being honest with each other. And the result she gets is she'll give the same offer and it'll be received in a much better fashion. And she's able to be true to herself and not have to fake it. So it just feels better all the way around.
Right. Yeah, that's why I brought her up, because it is a very natural thing. And all she would be doing is expressing her real feelings about.
That's it, right? It's not slimy. It's not manipulative. It's being real. The funny thing is, in sales, sometimes being real is just the best thing you can do. So everything we teach is about real, open, honest communication.
That's awesome. Wow. Okay. John, by now, the listeners are probably wants to figure out how they can get in touch with you, work with you, maybe have themselves or their staff train on this. Where would you like to send them?
So you can just check out our website. It's the name of my company is Midwest Revenue Group. The website is www.midwestrev, that's REV as in revenue.com. So midwestrev.com. Or you can just email me directly. My email's open to the public, John, John, at midwestrev.com. If you guys just have some questions or anything like that, happy to answer them. Or look up our company name on YouTube. And I post free videos all the time with the same type of stuff we talked about where people can just get for free.
Gotcha. All right. I have another question for you. This is similar to what we just said, but maybe worded in a different way, right? How do we make an offer that have us feel good about making the offer, and have the seller, feel good that we made them the offer?
Right. So how do they give them an offer that they like. So it's really about, again, how you frame the offer. So it's not about the money. Money's worthless. It's about what money can do. That's why we all like money, right? It's not the actual numbers in our bank account. It could be the safety it makes us feel, right? When you have a lot of money in the bank account, you feel safe. Hey, I could have a bad month, a bad year. We're okay. Our life's not going to change. It might be about what it can do. Hey, I can finally get into this business. I can finally take my spouse on this trip. I can do these things for my kids. I can give myself this education. So it's about what money can do. So you want to keep that in mind, right? It's not the offer, it's what the offer can do. So you stop talking about the money numbers and you talk about the solution you're providing. So instead of, hey, I could give you 10 grand for this house, it's, hey, listen, I think I can find a way to get you out of here. You don't have to worry about the 14 years of stuff you've collected that's in the yard and in the attic and what you're going to do with it. I know you got some good stuff that you want to keep. We can help you pack it up. We can put some stuff in storage. Stuff you don't want, that's still good. I know it's important that it gets some use. We can do an estate sale or help donate it to where people can get some use out of it. And we can put some money in your pocket to help you get that new place, put the deposit down, and start your life. If I can put a deal like that together, are you interested? So you see, I talk nothing about money, but about what the money actually does. So as you structure a deal, that's why that problem impact picture perfect is so important on the front end of a sales call. Because when you get to your offer, the way you structure your offer is how am I going to, I have to craft a bridge to help them get from here to here. So when you structure your offer, that's what I talk about. I never talk about the money. I talk about what the money can do. And at the end of the day, it's going to have a number behind it and we get to it. But when I first bring it up, it's about what that money is going to do for them. That'll get you the peace of mind. That will buy you your life back. That buys you a fresh start. That saves your credit, that whatever it is. And that's how you can make an offer that feels good to everybody.
Gotcha. Yeah. So basically, to summarize it all up, like our business isn't to go buy a house, right? Our business is simply go out there, find out what is it that is important for these homeowners. What is it that they really want beyond the money, beyond trying to sell the house? What is it that they really want? And find a way to provide them what they want. And that's pretty much our business.
That's it. We're in the business of solving problems. And we happen to use real estate as a tool to solve those problems. So even if you talk to someone and they say, what do you want? What problem am I here to solve? They go, I just want $50,000. $50,000. What's $50,000 do? Well, it would pay off the house, and then you're right into that conversation, right? So that's it. I think you nailed it. We're in the problem-solving business. We use real estate as a tool to help solve people's problems. And when you look at the business that way, it's something you can feel really good about. There's no other business in the world like it. We have that much power and impact. And it's a win-win-win all the way around, right? If you're in the wholesale business, it's a win for you, it's a win for the homeowner, and it's a win for whoever you finally sell that property to as well, right? So, there's no business like real estate you can feel this good about.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate you and this awesome interview. I learned a ton about sales of this quick interview, probably more than I've officially learned in my life. But yeah, really great stuff. And I so resonate with like your methodology. Basically, like you said, like you bring it down to the core human level of it, and have it about two humans connecting with each other. And helping each other solve an issue, provide a solution, right? So, thank you so much for this interview.
Thanks for having me on, Tim. I appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. I hope you got a lot of value out of this interview, like I have. If so, leave us feedback, share it with your friends, and reach out to John, get some training from him. And with that, happy investing, and we'll see you on the next interview. All right, bye everybody.
And that's our show for today. If you have any questions or would like to get further training from Tim Mai, please visit our website at www.dodeals.com/Tim.